Hey y'all, what's up? It's your boy Evan. Welcome to the Cartoon Block. Today I'm going to show you how to finish your sketch of Jessica Jones. If you missed part 1, click here. Now moving on to her eyes, we can go ahead and grab our HB pencil. But first we want to look at some reference of the actress who plays Jessica Jones, Kristen Ritter, and kind of see how, what kind of features that she has. Kristen kind of has like a little bit thicker, more defined eyebrows, so we do want to accentuate that. And I like to have reference handy so you can kind of just not draw the reference exactly the way it is, because this is a cartoony version of her, but you want the reference to be a guide so you know where to accentuate the features of the person you're drawing. So her hairstyle, she has her part in the middle and she has her hair kind of just going out to the sides, and it's covering some of her face. And I want to keep a little of her right eye covered because it adds a little bit of mystery and suspense to her look. And I want to go ahead and darken it in all black up here, keeping the upper part white because that's where the light is directly hitting it. And then fleshing out her other strands of hair. And you want to go ahead and pencil it in according to the reference right here. You want to go ahead and put in your pencil strokes and guidelines. Don't just zigzag color it in from side to side. You want to go ahead and draw the strands of hair in the direction that they're supposed to go. I'm going to put a few strands off here on the side. So she is kind of just stopping or just in motion, or her motion has been slightly interrupted. So her body's about to be in a resting position. Maybe she's jumped up, getting ready to attack or defend herself. We don't know, but we know that, something's about to go down. So go ahead and just continue to draw your pencil strokes, in the direction that the hair is supposed to be. Now looking at more reference of her in her leather jacket, and that will let me know where the collar is on the jacket. So I think she's wearing a motorcycle jacket, but women still wear that for style. They're not really riding motorcycles, but they just wear it for style. So I'm not too familiar with how to draw, leather jackets, so especially motorcycle jackets. But that's when you find reference. Anything that you don't know how to draw, Google Images is your best friend. Go ahead and pull it up, see how it looks, see where the flaps are on the jacket, and how long certain pants are, how many folds a skirt has, how many wrinkles a pair of pants have, and just go ahead and find the reference that you need. Don't sit there and try to make up things on your own. I can't stress enough the importance of having photo reference. It's not cheating at all. Having reference is there to help you. It's a guide. So you're not just making it up, because if you make it up out of your head, then you run the risk of it looking not right. Now, once you've drawn something enough times from using reference, then you can draw it from memory. So for example, if you draw cars all the time because you like cars, you look at them in magazines all the time, and you work on cars, and chances are you know how a car looks when you draw it. But if you're someone who's used to drawing portraits of people and you never studied cars, then it may be wise to go ahead and find some reference for cars. And here you can see I'm working on the knuckles for Jessica, drawing her pinky finger, folded underneath her palm here in the fist. And this pose for her fist can be kind of difficult for some people, but the easy way around that is to draw your own fist. And I'm looking at her gloves and seeing how much of her fingers are exposed in the picture, and then using that as a guide when I draw her hands here. So just shading in one side of her knuckles just to add that dimension, and putting the shadow between her fingers, showing that there is some depth there. so her fingers don't just look flat, like 4 flat pieces of, things coming out of her hand. And then putting more of her curl at the end of her hair, and then adding in her thumb down here below. And as you can see, I roughed out her thumb too long, and so with my HB pencil, I'm just making it shorter. And it's okay if you go ahead and draw over your drawing and make it different than what you had laid out originally. You don't have to stick with your original plan that you had earlier in your drawing. If it calls for you need to change something, then so be it, change it. And I'm just adding in some shadow down here in her sleeve and just darkening that in. And now I'm putting in like the zippers, the teeth of her zipper on her jacket. I'm not even quite sure if she has that, but doesn't matter. I think it just adds to the motif of her being, wearing this motorcycle jacket. So when people see the drawing, they'll say, hey, that's like a leather jacket. Hopefully they see that. So if they don't, oh well, back to the drawing board. But for now, it definitely adds to the motif of her wearing that leather jacket. And now moving on to her other hand, her right fist, we're going to do the same thing we did with her left fist. Flesh out the fingers more, keeping them in proper perspective, thinking of the fingers as blocks, not as flat little pieces of paper. They're blocks. So they have, sides to them. They have volume. The knuckles, think of them as like, the closest thing I can think of a knuckle is like a woman's cup bra. Think of that. And you're only shading one side of it. And there we go. And just darkening, one side of the knuckles to give it more depth and to make the drawing pop. So now I'm going to put in some more of her jacket and just flesh it out and indicate a shine on her jacket by just putting in black and then leaving some of this white. Or you could go ahead and darken in the entire jacket black and then use whiteout or your eraser to erase out the highlights. And that's how you draw like a shiny fabric. You want to just darken it in, then put in the highlights, just erase it out. And I'm going to go ahead and tackle her face. We want her face in like this coarse shadow, leaving some rim light on the outside of it. Now I'm going to tell you something that most people probably wouldn't catch. The way I'm lighting her face does not make sense at all. It doesn't make sense whatsoever, but no one will ever notice that. People are more fascinated by the detail and the emotion of the drawing and her pose. So we have her face in shadow, therefore the sides of her face should also be in shadow, unless she has like some light bulbs underneath her jacket or something like that. But I like to go ahead and put faces in coarse shadow and then have a reflective rim light on the outside of her face, just to add to like the drama, and it kind of helps frame the face. So you're allowed to do this in art, and these are just called the cheats that we can get away with as artists. Filmmakers do the exact same thing all the time. You'll see a character walking outside, running from a monster, but for some reason, you can see like the character clear as day. Like that has to be the brightest moonlight under the sun. And I've been out in the woods. It's pitch black. You can't see anything. So films do it themselves. But all of it is for the purpose of telling a story. That's what it is. You don't have to be right. Your only job is to get the audience vested in the story. And that's all you have to do. So here I'm putting in a few strands of white in her hair, because her hair, even though it's black, it's not, even black is not fully black when you see it in light. There are some strands of gray, some strands of white in it. Nothing is ever one solid color. Even if you draw Black Panther, his costume is black, the fabric is black, but when it's held up to light, that black turns gray. And here I'm using my fine gel pen, the Uniball Signal white gel pen, to kind of like fine tune some of the highlighted areas on the top of her head. And let me kind of zoom in a little bit here so you can kind of see what I did here with the whiteout. And now I'm going to add some more, add a shine to her eyes here. And this will make the eyes pop. I had to go ahead and darken in. Once you put the pupil in there, I had to darken in the iris, which is the colored section of the eye, and then drop in this one white highlight on the eye, and it makes the eyes just pop off the page, and the audience is drawn to it. And they're like, ooh wee, you know, eyes are the windows to the soul, as they say. So you want your audience to be drawn to your character's face. And now I want to whiten in this area of her teeth, and that too will make, you know, the face just pop off even more. The white contrasted with the shadows on the face will just make the drawing just come off the page, and the audience is more vested in the drawing. So yeah, we're almost done with that area. I don't want to overdo it here because it'll just be too messy. And when you're using this whiteout over like lead pencil, you're leaving basically a layer of paint on the paper, and you don't want it to start like smearing with your lead at all. So I advise you, practice these types of areas that you're drawing, practice it on a scratch sheet of paper. So practice drawing her mouth here on a scratch sheet of paper and then adding the whiteout to it. And I kind of did a little bit extra whiteout than I had anticipated, so I will now want to go back in and be very careful and just add in some more of my pencil lead. But like I mentioned earlier, this whiteout is like a layer of paint. And so now I'm basically going back in with the pencil. I'm either doing one or two things, adding in pencil lead or scraping away white paint. And that's why you want to go ahead and just practice it on some scratch sheet of paper, because you never know how it's gonna affect your final drawing. So now I want to go back to my Uniball Signal white gel pen and just kind of like tweak some areas and drop in some more white because I put too much pencil lead in there. It's a give and take process, and over time you will find the method that works best for you. Every artist has their own style. You just choose whatever method works for you. So now I want to add a cast shadow underneath her chin area because we really can't see it. Jessica sometimes wears a scarf, so I don't think we'll be drawing the scarf. I'm just going to be drawing just a shadow underneath her chin. And now using my Presto white correction pen, back to that one, going to be adding in a few white highlights on her gloves to make that area pure white. And I like this gel correction pen because the ink flows a whole lot more. You can cover a lot more ground faster with it. Whereas my Uniball Signal white gel pen, it's more for like a fine line in small areas. Just using my white correction pen, continuing to do that. And now switching over to my Copic multi-liner, and I just want to go ahead and just accentuate her eyes, like darken in the very blacks of the black in her mouth and on her eyes. So I want to use my white gel pen to add some shines on her lips. Don't overdo it, just put a dot in the bottom, maybe a smaller one at the top in the upper lip. And I'm going to add a slight wrinkle between her eyebrows here. You don't want to do this too often on women because it makes them look just ugly, but just put a little bit of a wrinkle between her eyes. And I want to darken in her eyebrow up here on her right eye, and then kind of put a slight shine, or well, let me erase that wrinkle on her, between her eyebrows. And now I want her hair to be more dramatic and flowing, so I kind of just take a step back and just make the hair flowing, whiten up the the drawing some more. And then just for the sake of dramatic effect, she's in the rain, and just add these white strokes in there with my jumbo correction pen. And you don't want to cover up the eyes at all. So be careful when you do this. You don't want to cover up the eyes because it looks good. And there you have it. That's Jessica Jones. Thanks for watching. And if you're still having a hard time coming up with your own superhero body, then click the link below in the description and get my free superhero mini course. Get started right now. Don't wait.